not a problem at all. Again, good evening to all. This is W7GBA, W7 God Bless America. I'm going to dispense from the normal preamble. This is a bit of a special net. If you did not hear, Pat Collins, longtime and very well-known ham in northwestern Minnesota, passed away recently. And Pat was a great guy. So we're going to celebrate a little bit about him and his life as we do this net. So far on the net, VE4CA, WW0DN, VE4AJ, KC0CAP, VE4 Papa Hotel, VA4 Yankee Lima, KC0YHU, and KE0VUL. Any other stations that would like to check in to the Northwest Digital Hub Net, please come now. KV0 ISW.
And KA0 ISW checking in for KA0NWV. Final check-in.
The 7 GBA is net control. Please come now. All right, as we go on, we'll stop and check to see if other stations are with us. Again, a little bit of a different net tonight. So no formal preamble and no formal initial check-in and down the list, that kind of thing. And talk about Pat, my good buddy Pat. On last Saturday's net, we kept Pat and his family in prayer, and Pat actually passed away the very next day, Sunday morning. And very peacefully, Sean told me the funeral was last Thursday at St. Edward's Catholic Church. I had the great honor and privilege to be involved in the funeral. Father George Knoll was the celebrant. I was the deacon. I've been a Catholic deacon now for 8 years, and was also given the distinct honor of being the homilist. So I gave the homily as well, and it was just a wonderful thing. It was just a great way to remember Pat and all that he has meant to this area. I'm going to read a little bit of his obituary, and then we'll go down the list, and you can give comments and talk about any great Pat stories that you may have. So please stand by. And in the normal, and I think beautifully so, in normal amateur radio practice, let us now observe a moment of silence for KA0NWV. And I thank all the stations for that. Richard, Pat Collins, he always went by Pat. I had the ability to see him Thursday before he passed away. And when we went to the hospital, my wife and we stopped in, and the gal said, "Who are you here to see?" And I said, "Pat Collins." And she said, I think it was, Sean can correct me, but I think it was room, I want to say it was 620, but I have the room number. And she goes, we don't have a Pat Collins. And I said, "Oh, that's right, you have a Richard Collins, though." And she smiled and looked at me and said, "I've been waiting for you to say that, just to make sure that you knew who you were going to see." In all the years I've known Pat, I rarely ever heard him referred to by Richard. Richard Pat Collins was born May 23rd, 1946 in Thief River Falls, Minnesota. Was baptized and confirmed in the Catholic faith at St. Joseph's Catholic Church in Middle River. He attended Middle River School, graduated in 1964. He attended the University of North Dakota, the Fighting Sioux, and the University of Minnesota in St. Paul, the Golden Gophers. They tell have to tell us which hockey team you rooted for. Graduated with a degree in mortuary science in 1967. So he did his, my wife pointed this out to me, he did his college work in 3 years and followed in his father's footsteps. On June 24th, 1967, united in marriage to Jeannie at the Blessed Sacrament Catholic Church in Greenbush. The couple immediately moved into a house in the Carlston area that was really connected, it was connected to the funeral home that he took over, but it became the hub. It was the hub of all things Carlston. You could stop by there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock in the morning and have a cup of coffee, be waiting on the table for you. He started a 24-hour ambulance service at the same location. He also became a professional rescue instructor for the state of Minnesota, and he, along with several teams, trained numerous ambulance squads throughout the state. I was an EMT for 4,000 hours, and we never crossed paths in that way, which is unfortunate. I wish maybe he was starting to get of it when I was starting to get into it. There you go. In August of 1972, Pat organized Carlston Rescue Squad, continued operating the ambulance service until 1975, when the service was turned over to the newly organized Tri-County EMS District, which he was also instrumental, by the way, in organizing. He was an adrenaline junkie, loved I have to remember to reset. He was an adrenaline junkie and loved his 39 years as a member of the Carlston Fire Department, as well as his years on the ambulance, and of course that held true for his love of motorcycles and going on long rides. You know, when Michelle and I were coming up to the church on Thursday, saw a bunch of motorcyclists gathered in the corner. Didn't really think too much about it, but they were part of the escort out to the final burial site, along with a couple squad cars and the Carlston Fire Department. Just beautiful to see it. All of this brings such a smile to my face. And, of course, he loved hunting and spending time at the hunting shack. I've had the privilege of being out there. I was there with his kids and his friends, and the fishing trips, and most of all, just sitting around and telling stories that, again, could happen at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock in the morning, depending on whenever you stop by. Sean, KA0NWV, said he was only allowed so many words in a day, and he'd have all of his words used up by noon. I'll reset here again. His interest in radios and electronics led him into ham radio. He'd been licensed for about 45 years. Countless hours chatting with friends around the world, including working the Space Shuttle Columbia when it was in orbit. Pat was a member of the Middle River American Legion Riders and Sons of the American Legion, Minnesota and North Dakota Patriot Guard, past member of the Carlston Fire Department and Carlston Rescue Squad. Survived by his loving wife, Jeannie, for 54 years. 54 years. Can you imagine being married to Pat for 54 years? Well done, Jeannie. Sons Sean and Steve, daughter Melissa, many grandsons. It's great to see all the grandsons lined up at the service. And Lisa. Lots of other relatives too, of course, as you would think that there's someone that lived the life that Pat would have. So we'll keep all of them in thought and prayer. And I'll pass something along. I think I passed to on that I've repeated it as a deacon many times. My mother died when I was 14 years old. That was over 50-some years ago. It took me a long time to realize this, but this is true, and I'll reset. You know, you miss the person, obviously, each and every day. But the love that they shared with you, the love they gave you, the things they did for you as a person on this earth, they remain with you every day. More endearing as the days go on. And that is how all think of KA0NWV. So, Pat, brother, it's a pleasure to have talked to you all these years. And we'll think about him often. Sean, the motorcycle's going by here. Maybe Pat organized that. Sean was telling me he was really thinking about putting a cheap boping in Pat's pocket before they closed the casket, but he was afraid that maybe we'd hear KA0NWV on the Northstar hub. And if anybody could figure out a way to do it, it would be our friend Pat. All right, so that's a little bit about Pat, and as we go down the line, if you have a story about him, please tell us. And if you don't, that's okay too. And you can also mention what's been happening in your life this past week. Pretty hot day today. Most of it here in Grand Forks, gathering up supplies for the remote base that Art and Zero MHO and I are putting together. And Michelle and I will be out at that area Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday, as we start bringing that up to speed. Let me list the stations that I have checked into the net so far. VE4CA, WW0 Delta November, VE4AJ, TC0CAP, VE4PH, VA4YL, TC0YHU, KE0VUL, and of course KB0ISW. Anyone else that I have not recognized, I've not given your call sign, who would like to be part of this step, please call now. All right, looks like we've got a good crew. Let's start going down the list. We'll see if VE4CA has all the groceries unloaded from the car and he's near the microphone. We'll come back. VE4CA from Net Control, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm done. Rushing away here and a bit out of breath. Glad to make it into the net tonight. Beautiful night out here in Bloomberg, Manitoba, just southeast of Winnipeg, about 30 kilometers. And I heard about Pat passing, and I am so sorry to hear that. I've talked to him since the 90s, I guess, on the Superlinks, and been playing around with his repeater that I could hit with my handheld with 10 milliwatts during an inversion, and I'm sure I annoyed the hell out of him. And I thought that was just great from Winnipeg to Carlstead on a handheld with 10 milliwatts. And just using the links through his repeater and going south and west back in the days when that was a big thing. And I know Sean checked in. So sorry to hear about your pops. And I'm sure he's in a better place. And I send you and your family condolences. And that's it that I've got. I'll turn it back over to Net Control, VE4CA.
Oh, that's an excellent story, Rob. Well, thank you. Let me make sure... There, maybe that'll yep, okay. So I'm showing up on my little monitor here, so I'm going to go with that. I'm not, Sean, if it means anything, I'm not showing up on Peanut in the car. But maybe that's me here and not Peanut at the hub. Anyway, Rob, thanks for that. Yeah, Pat was Mr. Superlink. When you think about Pat, we think about the Superlink. Boy, he was the force behind it. He was really the force behind it, and especially in this area. Even recently he was as well. Thanks for that, Rob. And 10 milliwatts, yeah, that's cool. I don't think you bugged the hell out of him at all. He probably loved it. Moving on, WW0DN. Dan, microphone to you, over.
WW0DN here. Well, thank you, and Jesus, it's really tough talking about Pat. He's such a dear friend of mine. But you talk about the Superlink, I remember going out west one time. I was going on to see my girls, and they lived in Montana. They lived in Big Timber, Montana. And we were coming back, and I got to the North Dakota-Minnesota border. No, North Dakota-Montana border to try the Superlink, because he had told me you got to try it when you're out there. Every time I went somewhere, he said, you got to try to get back in here, through the Superlink. Yeah. But the big thing about Pat was he was a good friend. Damn good friend. And if I wasn't stopping or whatever coffee, he'd call me up and say, hey, you got a coffee on. You bet, Yeah, it's really a tough thing, man. I'll turn it back to that now.
You bet, Dan. Well, thank you for all of that. And, the Superlink would reach out there. There's no doubt about that. And back in the day, it was a big thing. Well, it still is, but it was a big thing in the days before the digital side. So thanks for those memories. VE4AJ, Cal, thanks for checking in, and microphone to you, over.
Well, thanks. I didn't know Pat as well as most of the other guys do. Probably for about, I'm going to guess 5 years or so since we had the repeater put up here, and I got into the digital side of the house. And Pat would check in, and we would, chat back and forth for what we could. And it was sorry to hear that he had passed away. I was a little bit in shock there. I think Rob mentioned it to me, and just kind of carried on from there. So condolences to the family, and back to net.
Thanks, Kel. Appreciate that. I think when it comes to Sean, I'm going to put words in his mouth. I think the family was very happy that Pat didn't suffer. And I'll tell you a little bit about the Thursday. So we go and see Pat, and Sean had warned me Pat was suffering from a bit of dementia, and at times very difficult to understand. And so we were ready for that. And I've encountered that as a deacon with visiting people in the hospital. I walk in, he looks right up, he goes, Dan, W7GBA, and he said it that clear. And I'm like, Pat, how are you? And he goes, I see you brought your wife. And I said, yeah, I did. He goes, well, good, come over and help me. So I go over, and they have mittens on him because he's been pulling out his IV. And he goes, hey, take these mittens off because you have to unhook all this stuff and get me out of here before the guy comes back. And I said, what guy? And he goes, the guy, before the guy comes back. And I said, I'm like, okay, yeah, we can do that. And he goes, no, we have to get out of here now. I'm like, okay, Pat, all right, good to see you, buddy. And just about that time, a female nurse came in, and the look on his face was like, you let me down. He had just a frown. He gave me a dirty look, and I wished him well. We laughed, but I'll remember that as long as I live. That was just a great encounter, and my last one when he was alive. KC0CAP, Dan, welcome to the net. Microphone to you, over. And we'll try one more time. KC0CAP from Net Control. Please go ahead. All right. Nothing heard, nothing seen. VE4PH, Peter, welcome to you. And I think you mentioned that I'm going to assume it's your lovely wife, VA4YL Patricia. Microphone to you, Pete, and if Patricia is there to say something, that would be wonderful too. VE4PH, mic to you. Please go ahead.
Whiskey 7, G Golf Bravo Alpha, V for Papa Hotel. Yeah, that name is Pete, and Pat is indeed my ex-YL. And first time on the net. It would have been the first time for me last week, but I had a boneheaded issue with the radio. It did not want to go into color code 4. I had it on 1. So that's why you didn't hear me, but at least my friend Craig came on. I've talked to Pat a couple of times, and always makes me smile when I think about what he told one person. He said, my call sign ends in NWV, non-winning Vikings. I got a big chuckle out of that. And I'll pass the radio over to Pat. That's what we call her around here.
W7GBA, this is Victor Alpha for Yankee Lima. Yeah, first time. I think I did have a contact with Pat once, and I jokingly said 2 Pats are better than 1. Anyway, back to you.
Well, thank you, Pat. It was very, very good. And thanks to you too, Peter. It's a pleasure to meet both of you. Welcome to the Northstar Digital Hub Net. We try and do it every Saturday at about 9 o'clock local time. It probably would be a better time for us, maybe during the week or earlier time, but we seem to be stuck here, and it's working out very, very good. And yeah, I love the non-winning Vikings. True to form. It reminds me of the old joke that there's a couple old guys, old codgers, and they've been with the devil. They've been in hell for a long, long time. And one guy comes running in and he goes, "Hell's freezing over! Hell is freezing over!" And the one guy looks at the other one and goes, "Huh? The Vikings must have won the Super Bowl." So non-winning Vikings fits very, very well. Thanks for that, both of you, and a pleasure to have you on the net tonight. KC0YHU is next. Craig, please go ahead.
W7 GPA, KC0YHU. Well, good evening, and welcome to everyone else on the net. I'm glad to be back for a second time, 2 weeks in a row. It's a miracle for me. I remembered, but VE4 Papa Hotel there reminded me today, and so did not know Pat. I believe I never had the pleasure to talk to him on the air, but our thoughts and prayers are with his family. Oh, it's been a beautiful day down here. We got up into the mid-70s or so, and the humidity went down, and we got out and visited some friends that were boondocking out in their camper, and enjoyed the afternoon at a car show briefly. And we got our motorcycle out this last week. Our Harley motorcycle we haven't ridden for quite a few years, and it felt so good to get on and go riding. I have to do more of that this coming week. And that's about it. Watch the SRX race on TV tonight, and now the net. Back to you, sir. Thanks for calling the net. KC0YHU.
Yeah, great, Craig. Very good on all. Well, welcome to the net tonight, and thanks to Peter for reminding you. That's why I thought I'd come outside, sit here in the garage, right by the door. It's a beautiful night looking outside, and just nice to be out here. Hot spots probably about 500 or 600 feet away, but no problem whatsoever. Have the internet here so I can see the dashboard and listening not only this is an 878 on DMR through the Pi-Star hotspot, which KA0NWV helped me set up. Also have Northstar going on the cell phone and a Peanut on the network radio, so I can make sure that I'm putting out some RF HI. And Craig, you can check my website, check my QRZ page. You can see my current motorcycle. I don't consider it a motorcycle at all. It's a Polaris Slingshot. But in the Harley line, I had a Sportster in 1971, maybe 72. I'd have to look. Worst motorcycle I ever owned. Then I had a, oh my gosh, what year was the Deuce? 99, 2000. I'd have to look. It's been a while, but the Deuce was a beautiful bike. My son took that one over. Then a 2002 Ultra Classic, but many miles. That one went to 29 different states. And then a Harley Tri-Glide, which was a nice bike too, and then the Polaris Slingshot. So much like Pat, much like you, much like many on the net tonight, lots of miles on two wheels. So and so thankful for all the travel that we've been able to do on 2 and 3 wheels. So get out, make the back tire go forward, and keep it on 2 wheels, Craig, and be careful out there. But a lot of fun this time of year. KA0NWV, Garrett, you're next. Microphone to you, over.
KA0NWV, I'm coming in on the 878 over All-Star here. I kind of did something to my hotspot, and I'm going to have to format the SD cards. But I had 1 or 2 QSOs in the past, I think, or not so much QSOs, but testing out the radios, because often he was listening on the digital side a lot. Sad hearing that, but I wish John and the family the best from KA0NWV.
Very good, Garrett. Thank you very much. And here's another little Pat story. About a year ago or so, I've been licensed since 1969, which is telling my age. Hi. And a long-time HF operator, still active on HF, and I get an email from Pat, and we haven't talked in quite a while. And he said, "Hey, here's my phone number. Give me a call." So I called him, and it was like, "Pat, nice to hear you. How you been?" And he goes, "Well, I tracked you down." I had to change my call sign. He didn't know that, but his detective skills were good. And I said, "Yeah, this is a new call sign." And he goes, "Have you ever thought about getting on DMR?" And I'm like, "Yeah, the digital thing really doesn't do all that much for me. You know, it just doesn't do it." And he goes, "Well, my son has built a digital hub here, and you might want to take a look at it and listen, and I think you might find that it's pretty cool." And so I just happened to need to talk with Sean about something else, and he gave me some information, and hey, the rest is history. I'm still active on HF, still doing all of that, but the digital side has really been a lot of fun. And that all started over about a year and a half ago it was, and the major push was KA0NWV. I'm going to give it to Sean, but before we do that, let's find out if anyone else is here. Any other stations that I have not acknowledged yet for this net? If you would like to participate, please come now.
Victor Echo 4, Golf Whiskey November.
Checking in.
All right, I have VE4GWN. Nice to have you. And who was the other station over?
KA0NWV.
Oh, you bet. K1RLG. Very good. Excellent. Thank you much. Anyone else? All right. We'll come to Sean at the very end. VE4GWN. Very nice to meet you, Glenn. Please go ahead.
Well, good evening to you and everybody else on net. This is Victor Echo 4, Golf Whiskey November, sitting here out on the deck in Winnipeg. Just enough of a breeze to make it comfortable. There you go. Rob told me about this net, and I was going to put it on half an hour ago, and I got distracted doing a couple of other things, and wound up turning off the radio for a bit, and now I've turned it back on, and it was scanning and picked us up, so there you go. I'm checking in, and please check in Rosie, VE4 Yankee Lima, who's sitting across the table from me.
Well, very good. Nice to have you, Glenn, and Yankee Lima on the net tonight. And this is a little bit different net. If you've been listening, we've been just reminiscing a little bit about Pat Collins, KA0NWV. And Pat was a good friend to many on the net, and he passed away last Sunday. The funeral was last Thursday. And one of the people that I happened to meet at the funeral was the next station, K1RLG. Kyle, it was great to meet you. And I think your son, if I'm remembering right. And microphone to you, or?
This K1RLG. Dan, it was great to meet you, and a few of the other guys here on the net, or that have been on the net, I got to meet through Sean, and I wouldn't know where to start with Pat. He's been a family friend for many years, and I could go on and on for hours. Between him and Sean, they're the ones that got...
Yeah, you bet, Kyle. It was a pleasure to meet you. And I'm sure Sean and family appreciated the fact that you were there for Pat's funeral. And very good. Nice to have you. Anyone else, before we give it to KB0ISW, anyone else for the net, your call sign, please. All right, I think that's it as far as comments. And I apologize to Sean. I didn't tell him I was going to do this. If I did, maybe he would have said, no, let's not do that. But I just had to hear some more stories about your dad, Sean, and what some great ones tonight that were passed. Just puts a smile on my face. So I don't want to put too much pressure on you, but I'm going to have you kind of tie the ribbons on it, and we'll bring the net to a close. KB0ISW from W7. God bless America.
KB0ISW. Hello to everyone on the net, and thank you for all the kind words. That means a lot. It means a lot. And if you didn't notice on your dad's board, I'm using one of Dad's radios. So his call sign is coming up.
And I figured to only tribute one last check-in from KA0NWV. This little radio I gave him for his birthday, a little radio oddity. I don't remember the number of it, but it's a little tiny one that he can put in the car with the hotspot. And he loved it. It was tiny, and he tucked it away with him. And of course, maybe not the bulky radio you're supposed to have with you at funerals or wherever you may be. At least this one, he could hide in his pocket. And Ann and I had a little conversation about that after the service as well. But, yeah, just appreciate everybody's kind words. And for what it's worth, our mom is listening at home. I set the radio up for her so she can listen to the net tonight and hear all the kind of words as well. And thank you, Dan, for everything you did at the service. It was absolutely beautiful. Everybody was super happy with how everything went. It was really nice to meet and see all of Dad's friends that showed up from a very, very long distance. And that meant a lot to us as well. So again, thank you for everything you did, and thank you to everybody on the net for your kind words. And next week, we'll be back to normal again as far as the net's concerned, but really appreciate everything this evening. KB0, I step back to net.
Well, how cool! And I just happened to look up on the dashboard as you came back on frequency, and I see KA0NWV, and it just puts a big smile on my face that he figured out a way to do it anyway, to show up on the net. And just warms my heart to know that Jeannie is listening and listening to the many things about that she heard about her beloved partner of so many, many years. And again, I just think of Pat at 2 in the morning or at 2 in the afternoon was always there. In fact, he knew. I don't think he'd ever seen the slingshot that I drive, but about I don't know, about 2-3 weeks ago, I happened to be on the hub, and he gives me a call right away, and he says, kind of got a gruff sound to his voice, and I'm thinking he's not feeling very well. But I figure out he's mad at me, actually. And I said, Pat, what's going on? What did I do? And he goes, you were in Carlstead. I saw the slingshot, and you didn't stop by. And I'm like, wow, what color was it? Mine's blue. And he goes, this one was black. And I said, yeah, check my website, or check QRZ.com, and you'll see a picture of me sitting in it, and it's blue. And he goes, yeah, I see that. Okay, you're forgiven, he said. And I went, yeah, Pat, if I was in Carlstead, if I wasn't at KB0ISW's house, I'd be at your house. I couldn't go through Carlstead without stopping by. So it's just another great story that you made me think about, Sean. So Jeannie, really our thoughts and prayers are with you, but I can tell you again, it's easy for me to say when I think back to my mom that she's been gone all these years, but I still to this day feel the love from her as if it were yesterday, and that's not going to go away. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all so much. We'll return the net back to normal operation next week, but VE4CA, WW0 Delta November, VE4AJ, KC0CAP, VE4PH, VA4YL, KC0YHU, KE0VUL, KB0ISW, VE4GWN, and friend across the table, which call sign I didn't write down, and K1RLG, and of course, on my dashboard is KA0NWV. Of course, I'm very good at talking out everything. Bring the net to a close. We'll return the hub to normal amateur radio operation. And again, on behalf of Pat's family, especially his beloved Jeannie, and of course Sean, his son, here tonight, and anyone else, the family that's listening, thank you for your thoughts and prayers and for remembering such a great, great guy who might not be with us physically, but is with us in our hearts and will be every time we get on the Northwest Hub. This is W7GBA, W7 God Bless America, and we hope that God does indeed do exactly that. And not only the United States of America, but North America, which includes our beloved friends across the border. And we'll be thinking of all of you on tonight's net and invite you all to come back next Saturday, 9 o'clock. We'll have a more normal get-together and find out what's been happening in each of our lives as we continue in this beautiful hobby of amateur radio. 73, God bless, good night, and we'll return the hub back to normal use. This is W7GBA, and I'll be clear, Northstar.